Hi all, this is Corinne from Spirea Herbs and Snail Trails Homestead. I'm coming at you in spring, and spring around here means that we have a lot of farm fresh eggs. It's a rather nasty day outside today, so I've decided to tackle some egg preservation. It's a little known information about chickens and eggs. They require sunlight in order to produce an egg. Some varieties need up to 14 hours a day of sunlight. So in the spring, as the days start to get longer, you may find yourself with an overabundance of farm fresh eggs. And on our homestead in the winter months, we have decided not to supplement lighting. Lots of farmers and homesteaders will do this. They'll provide artificial light through the winter months, so that way their chickens keep laying. But we feel that we'd like to follow a more natural rhythm to things. Chickens, they have a time off in their laying period for a reason. So we kind of respect that, and we don't supplement any lighting, which means in the winter months, our egg production drops drastically. Some of our birds are getting older, so we may not get any eggs from them in the winter at all. So egg preservation is really high on our list because we don't want to have to buy grocery store eggs. So one of the things that I have done that has worked really, really well is freezing eggs. And I've got like a silicone tray here, and I think they're for mini loaf. And what I do is I'll crack an egg and I'll scramble it first, and then I fill each one of these wells. I put it in the freezer. Once they're frozen, I put them in a bag of some kind, and then these are fantastic for baking over the winter months. Last year when I did this, I didn't scramble the eggs first, so I found that the texture of the egg white and the egg yolk were not consistent, not great for scrambled eggs. So I'm going to try scrambling them this year first before freezing them to see if we'll be able to have scrambled eggs this way too. Another really great way to preserve your eggs is of course to make things like quiches and freeze them. You can also do pickled eggs, which I'm going to try. We've never actually tried a pickled egg before, so we're going to do a small batch of those to see if we like them. If you have access to unwashed fresh eggs, they will actually keep on your counter for up to 4 weeks. We've kept some up to 5 weeks, no problem. In your fridge, some sources state up to 6 months. We haven't tried that. We tend to go through them faster than that. So why unwashed? When a chicken lays an egg, there is a coating around the egg. A lot of people call this a bloom. It's almost like an antibiotic protective coating that's around the egg. And when you wash that egg, you remove this protective coating. So grocery store eggs are usually washed in a chlorine solution, sometimes a bleach solution, sometimes both. So your eggs no longer have that protective coating around it, which is why they require refrigeration, because bacteria and things like that can now penetrate the shell. When they're unwashed, that means you don't require the refrigeration at all, which is really neat. So keeping your eggs is also, just on the counter or in the fridge up to 6 months. As I've read, I personally haven't tried it. But one of the things that I was really excited to experiment with is something called water glassing. And water glassing was an old-time egg preservation method that was used prior to refrigeration. It was a way to preserve unwashed, clean, farm fresh eggs up to, some folks are saying up to 8 months. Some people are saying up to 2 years, but most people say that 8 to 9 month mark is kind of the cap. And so all of these were laid at the end of April. So that's gonna put us into December. And what I'm gonna show you today is my first attempt at water glassing. So what you need for water glassing is something called hydrated lime. It's also called pickling lime. Now, I could not find pickling lime anywhere to save my life except on Amazon. And then I did a bit of research only to find out it's the exact same thing sold at hardware stores that's called hydrated lime. I could have bought the pickling lime on Amazon, a teeny tiny bag for $23.99, but because I'm frugal, we went to the hardware store and we got hydrated lime. Of course, it's going to show up backwards to you guys. That's just how things rock and roll. But it's a big bag for $13.99. So this is enough hydrated lime to last us forever. So it's sometimes also called slaked lime. Anyway, what you need is hydrated lime, and the measurements are 1 ounce by weight Okay, so you don't want to use a teaspoon or something like that. If it says an ounce, it's 1 ounce by weight to 1 liter of, or 1 quart of water. So for the Canadians watching me, this is about 29 grams by weight to about 1 liter of water. So I'm doubling it today. I've got 2 quarts of water here, or 2 liters. And you want to add your hydrated lime solution to your water. One thing before I go any further, you're obviously going to need something to store your eggs in once you've created your lime solution. You need to get a food grade bucket of some kind. And we love getting old ice cream buckets. That's what this is right here. They've had ice cream in them, so they're absolutely food grade. If you can find something with a handle, probably make your life a little easier. Mine doesn't have a handle, but it does have a nice lid. And then we will store these in our pantry. I'll date them and store them in the pantry and know that we have to consume them before the end of December. So make sure you've got yourself a food grade bucket. A lot of people would use like ceramic crocks, I think. You can use glass if you have a really, really large measuring cup. So again, food grade bucket, you need your hydrated lime, and you need clean, fresh water. If you are on city water, you probably want to filter that to remove the things like chlorine and fluoride. I don't know how that would affect this solution. So clean water, hydrated lime, and a food grade bucket of some kind. And of course, eggs. Clean eggs, unwashed. So I'm just going to add my hydrated lime to my clean water. And then you're going to want to whisk it around, and it's going to look quite milky by the time it's done. And then you know you've got yourself a good solution here. And hydrated lime and water is rather alkaline. So I've seen some videos where people weren't wearing gloves. I am going to be wearing a dish glove when I'm doing this, because this alkaline solution is most definitely going to dry out my hands. All right, it's looking like it actually mixed up quite well. So it looks almost like milk at this point. So I'm going to pour it into my food grade bucket. This way I can add more if I need to. I'm not really sure. I've never done this before, so I don't really know exactly how much solution I'll need. But for the sake of this video, I went with the 2 quarts. So again, I'm going to wear a glove, but one thing I'm going to show you too, some of the videos I watched said to store the egg. It's funny, when you have chickens, you very quickly realize that what's a normal egg doesn't really exist. They're all different colors and shapes and sizes, but eggs usually have kind of like a pointy end to them and then a more rounded top. And the rounded top is usually where the air bubble is. And so some folks say that if you can store them with the pointy end down, this will keep the air bubble at the top of the egg. And that way it won't degrade the egg or maybe break up the yolk over the months that you're storing. Because if you store it this way, right, that air bubble could try to make its way to the top here. So I'm going to try to do that. It's going to be a little different and difficult stacking them in a bucket. But here I go. And I will try to do a follow-up video to this when we actually crack open our first egg 8 months from now. I'm just going to kind of lean them. It's actually really hard to see because of the solution. And you want to make sure they're completely covered for the whole time that they're in the water, in the hydrated lime solution. Try to keep them in an area where they're not going to get too hot. But the one video that I watched, she had them in her house, and she gets hot summers just like we do. And she said they were just fine. That egg looks cracked. So again, it's a really good idea to kind of take a look at your eggs as you're doing this. Make sure that there's nothing wrong with them and that they don't have any cracks. Because then the hydrated lime solution will most definitely penetrate the shell. So I'm definitely going to need more of this. I haven't even counted, I should have done that, but at least 3 or 4 dozen eggs here that I'm going to be preserving this way. And the rest, as we get an overabundance, I'll probably freeze. I like to, I don't want to put all my eggs in one bucket. If this method doesn't work, if we crack open an egg in December and they're gnarly and we don't want to eat them, I don't want to have invested all of my extra fresh eggs into this method. So we'll pickle some, we'll freeze some, So that way we're ensured that we at least have some eggs over the winter months. So if you have any questions, please drop a comment below. I am going to do a blog post about this as well to accompany the video for those who don't have really great internet and can't watch YouTube. And like I said, I'll follow up and let you guys know how this worked. So this is Corinne from Spirea Herbs and Snail Trails Homestead signing off.